Let me tell you about ASCAP. ASCAP is America's only creator-first performing rights organization, or PRO. Their main job is to pay you royalties when songs you write are streamed, broadcast on radio or TV or played live. They're great at collecting royalties. In the most recent year, they collected more than $1.7 billion for ASCAP members. So, what makes ASCAP different? They're the only PRO in America that operates on a not-for-profit basis. The only one that was founded by music creators and is still governed by music creators and publishers. And they're in Washington all the time advocating for songwriters' rights in the age of AI. ASCAP represents over 1 million members, including this episode's guest, Ashley Gorley. If you are a songwriter or composer, ASCAP is where you belong. Writers can join for free. Learn more at ascap.com/whyjoin and follow at ASCAP on socials. Chartmetric is proud to sponsor the upcoming season of And the Writer Is. As the go-to source for up-to-date global social streaming and audience data for artists and music industry professionals, Chartmetric strives to ensure everyone can have a successful career in music. Their easy to understand and powerful analytics on over 10 million artists and 100 million tracks will help answer all of your questions, from tracking your stats to discovering new talents. Throughout this season, we'll be showcasing Chartmetric data to reveal insights about our featured artists. Plans start as low as $10 a month. Learn more and get started today at chartmetric.com. Welcome to And the Writer Is. I'm your host, Ross Golan. Today's guest is, there's so many things here that I've already read. This honestly is like a real thing, but this is your third time on this podcast. If you don't know this guy by now, I'm not even going to read this. This is ridiculous. Let's just go with that, like, currently of 76 number one songs. I feel like that's about, like, this is a ridiculous amount of success. So I'm just going to go to the interview.
All right, there you go.
That's all you're going to. If you guys want to hear, like, the first and second time I talked about this guy, go to those. And this is why. See, this morning I went and listened to those podcasts. Well,
it's been a minute, right?
So the first one was November of 2017 is when it came out.
Oh, wow.
But we recorded it. This is your life. We recorded it. I don't know when we recorded, but you had 33 number one songs.
Okay.
When we recorded it. You had 34 number one songs by the time it came out, and 35 by the time we wrote the anecdote underneath the caption, that none of the numbers could keep up. So I feel like every time that's sort of what that's the gist of your career. It's like if you try to keep up with it, you're just gonna like lose track. But I don't know if you remember this. In the first interview, we have the windows open, so you can probably hear the hawks in the background.
Oh, keep it natural. I love it.
We read through the titles of your 33 number one songs at that point. We read through that, and if you do the math of what it would be like to listen through 76 number one songs in succession, it would be 2.5 hours of music or something crazy like that.
That's funny.
I think that's right.
That up. Yeah.
So it's like it's egregious, and I'm just gonna get weird again, and I feel like I should read the rest of these now that you've just, let's see where we're at. And some, if I repeated them from the first one, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure this is correct from where we left off. Okay. I'm just going to read these. So just, you can go take a walk around the block.
All right. I'll be back.
You Should Be Here. Middle of a Memory. What Makes You Country. Eyes on You. Fix a Drink. Unforgettable. Marry Me. Life Changes. Rumor, Catch, Love Ain't, Living, I Don't Know About You, Remember You Young, One Big Country Song, Good Vibes, What's Your Country Song?
The emphasis, dude.
Here's different. Hole in the bottle.
Yeah. Just
That's
it up,
it,
mix it
right?
up, yeah,
Right. Hard to forget. One of them girls. You should probably leave. That's a great song. Sand in my boots. All my favorite songs. Notably, not a country number one.
True.
Country again. Take my name. New truck. Beers on me. What he didn't do. God gave me a girl. God gave me a girl. Gold. That's a good sound shit. She had me at Head. She had me at Heads, Carolina. Mm-hmm. Single Saturday night. All I need is you. I'm missing the title on that one. World on Fire. If you can point out the one that I'm missing, I'll give you $1. Save Me the Trouble. Truck Bed. Last Night. Everything I Love. You Proof. Thinking About Me. I Had Some Help. Hey, that song's doing all right.
It is. It's doing okay.
Is it weird to, like, every time that, people talk about how many number one songs you have, or is it kind of like, no, that's why,
Yeah, pretty weird. I mean, it's always like, the funny thing is they'll say, no matter how many you say, they'll be like, dude, are you to 200 yet? Or some number that's literally impossible. So it doesn't, no matter what you do, they round it up to some unachievable number. And I'm like, no, not yet. 100 years from now, we'll try to get there.
This was a question that I had. By the way, that second interview was in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And you were in...
I was trying to learn how to use Zoom. I don't even know if that recorded right.
It sounded like it was on Zoom. But what's amazing is just how... one, it's nice to have friends in the business for long enough that you can do this stuff for.
I'm all about it. Yeah.
But anyway, it's weird that when people start to have these landmark numbers, and every time you have a song that goes number one, now you're breaking some record of your own, assuming nobody else has more number one songs, is why is the next question always, when will you retire?
That's what I don't like about it.
When you
start getting little achievement awards, or like all of a sudden it's like, man, when are you gonna stop? It's like, no, that's not what I want to be 21. I want to start over. It's just, I don't know. It's funny. I guess it's a natural question. I don't have an answer.
When you come across people like, who've had this kind of success in other fields, mm-hmm. Do you find that what songwriters do is that applicable in other industries?
I don't think so. Because like if I have friends that sold a company, you know what I mean? Then it's not like they're passionate about the money maybe, or about the people, but they're usually not passionate about what they're doing, when they sell that. And if they are, then they keep rolling. I mean, some people have a goal that's a number or money. I mean, most writers no writers I know do, usually it's just it's up to them whenever that happens, or it happens and they don't know it. And then they find out 3 years later they're retired. It usually happens like that. But not as applicable. I think writing is its own monster. It's one of those things you actually might still do if you weren't getting a dime from it. There's not many jobs, like that. Maybe a professional, maybe a sport, but I don't know. I mean,
but what's weird about professional sports is interesting because the industry and the league decides when you retire half the time. It's rare that a player says, I'm done right now, just like it's rare for a songwriter to do that. But it's not rare for the league to say, we're just not going to, you're now going to sign into some other smaller league.
And the indicators are different. Thankfully, the age is older in the music business than it is for your running back,
Yeah, it's older to start for most people, and it's later to quit.
Yeah, you're coming right out of college, in the best shape of your life in sports, whereas it takes us a little while to try to get in that shape, So there's a little delay on it, thankfully.
It took a while to get to those first 33 number one songs. But it does feel like the last few years that the numbers are almost ramping up for you. Are you figuring out the matrix or what?
No, I don't know, man. I'm definitely, I've told a lot of people I was in Nashville for 11 years, 4 in college and then 7 with a publishing deal without a hit, you know? So that's a long warm up. You know what I mean? A lot of us have been there. So it was 2006 before I had anything in the top 40. You know what I mean? So lately, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I feel like God's favors on it. There's a little bit of magic. It's just, I mean, you can't line up songs to come after other songs. You know what I mean? So I'm just really thankful for it. But I definitely feel like this is kind of the most fun I've even ever had in the last 2 or 3 years, just kind of trying different stuff, not having some goal of I've got to do this to achieve a certain thing or to try to get in the club or whatever. That? What's that?
Did you used to have a goal of like?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the goal was just to not have to get a job, a real job. Yeah. I never said like, I want to write this many number ones. I had no idea if I could write a number one. And stats are tricky. I just wanted to be able to do it for a living and not have to pick up other gigs and just, be able to hang out and pay the bills,
When you have an album cut on an album, do you, or when you have even more like when a song goes to number 5 and disappears, is that a failure?
No. I mean, people are stats driven. They love math, so I don't even look at it like every number one. I mean, I have songs that went to number 5 that I'm maybe more proud of than a number 1 or more excited about, where they go. So it's just kind of like, if people are hearing it and loving it and I'm proud of it being out there, then it's not a huge number thing to me. It starts to be fun once you're going up there. It's like watching a stock or your team score, be like, oh, I hope this hits number 1, but it's completely out of your control, right? So it's not like you can stress about it. It's just like, oh, I hope this keeps going.
Do you check charts every day?
I check charts a lot. Just because I've got 12 writers, they have songs on there too. They want to know. They'll ask me if I have the little password that gets you into the exact access. But I may go a week and not check it. I mean, it's kind of fun to check. For some people can't stand doing that. It can depress you. You see 2 of your songs going negative, falling off. But for some reason I can separate
going up. And it's stressful going up. It's stressful going down.
It's always stressful. Yeah, especially and country songs especially can take forever. Like literally, they could take 70 weeks. To get all the way up the chart, which is wild right now. So if you're hanging on day by day, it would be tough. So I can separate it a little bit and be like, I've done my job, and I hope this goes, and it's kind of fun to watch it. And I've been doing it for long enough to know that it's a slow process, so it doesn't freak me out so much. I definitely still have songs where they don't. It's not like they all go, So there's a lot that don't, and that kind of sucks. But it's still for whatever reason it doesn't bug me to watch it and see that happening.
But you don't have. You're not up at night being, I should have 77, but that one.
No, absolutely not. No. I never. Whenever I can't sleep, it's not related to like I got to get another hit or anything like that.
There's a famous writer that I'm not going to mention, and I'm going to make up numbers so it's not obvious. But that person we'll say, 11 Grammys and is working so hard to get the 12th, and you can tell that they're tremendously hurt that funny. They didn't get the 12th.
Yeah, that would not be me. No. I'm not. I'm not much of an awards dude. I do like kind of all genre awards, or like I'm obviously proud if I'm writer of the year or some other honors I've been able to get. The icon thing at NMPA last year was really cool. But yeah, it's for me, it's just I love doing it. I just want it to be relevant. I want to be able to be making an impact, and as long as I feel like that's happening, then
do you know the number of how many you included? How many writers, tape room writers are? Which is your publishing company. Mm-hmm. How many tape room writers are currently on the charts?
Oh, how many writers? At least 4, 5, maybe. It's awesome. Those guys are doing so well. Which, again, we probably talked about tape room before, but that's kind of part of the fuel that keeps me going. Is I'm getting to mentor and coach those guys and listen to songs they've started and try to pair them up with the right people. I love doing that. It seems like a lot. You do the same thing, but there's a little bit of energy you get from that. You know what I mean? Where you're able to jump in and mentor and help set them up. It's like a good distraction from just thinking of ideas and melodies and hooks. So I know right now we're trying to get to 50 number ones for tape room for like my writers, not counting me. So I think we're at 47, 48, something like that. But dude, with Hunter Phelps and Ben Johnson and Zach Crowell and Taylor Phillips and all these guys, I mean, they're crushing it. Casey Brown, everybody's, I think they've got five or six on the chart right now.
Well, that brings us to our next segments. This one is, what would Ben Johnson ask Ashley Gorley on And the Writer Is? By the way,
he's not allowed to talk to me directly, by the way, so I'm glad he's going through you.
It's always through me. If you didn't work in music, what would you want to do?
Oh, that was his question?
Yeah, well, he's got a couple, so you're just going to have to deal with these.
Probably coach basketball.
Well,
travel professionally.
And that's really convenient that the next question is, how do you feel about the JJ Redick hire?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that must be I saw that last night, dude. I've been out of pocket. So I knew that was going to happen. Or I thought it was going to happen. I don't know JJ, but it's fun, man. I like people taking shots. He's got to be the first time sometime. Yeah. Kind of weird that it's the Lakers for your first time, but all good.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if he's coached AAU or anything. Yeah. I may have more experience than him.
If you're of a certain age, it's hard to think. It's still hard for me to think of him other than being a great collegiate player.
Oh yeah.
Like I still
threes.
think of I just still think of him.
He is a good sportscaster speaker. I mean, he seems very, very passionate. That's probably number one criteria, like it would be for me if I was hiring somebody. It's a shot in the dark a little bit, but I feel like NBA coaching would be so tough. It's like similar to if we were signing writers that already know exactly what they're doing. That's tougher than if you're coaching high school or college or trying to, train somebody up. So I would not be coaching NBA. I would be coaching high school or college.
Well, and that team in particular.
That's going to be rough.
Yeah.
They don't settle for much, but I mean, that's cool that he's up for the challenge and they're down to give him a shot. We'll see what happens.
Then here's the next segment is what would Zach Crowell ask Ashley Gorley on, and the writer is. He actually has a list. So the thing is when it's people's first interviews, I usually like to pick one, but being that like you're going to be on this a million more times, why not? Just let everyone have their moment. All right. He had a few questions. He said, how do you stay motivated? Because Zach has lost all motivation.
That's perfect. I'm glad he's seen that. I don't know. I mean, he goes up in that studio at 6 a.m., and works on songs all the time. But we usually have a different rhythm. That's funny that he said that he's lost all motivation.
Yeah, he says that having just finished the
He's been grinding so hard. He's probably completely out of energy. I can tell that's really funny, but I don't know. I've never even thought about motivation. It's just fun to do. I went to a concert last night. I listened to New Music Friday today. I'm just in it. I just love.
What was the concert?
It still moves me. Noah Khan with my daughter.
Oh, nice.
It was great.
Yeah.
He was killing it. But
Former
so that's
guest.
just fun. It's still, music still affects me that way. I'm not sitting there listening to the show like, oh, this EQ is off or like that hook is wrong or anything like that. You know what I mean? I've developed a way to separate it and enjoy it without picking it apart. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah. He asked, how do you know when to lead drive in a session or sit back and assist?
Ooh.
And that's actually that might be that's sort of the question.
Yeah.
That I think people want to know what's it like to be in the studio with you anyway. But when are you the driving force and when are you the guy who's like?
Yeah, it's hard for me to ride. I'd be a backseat driver. You know what I mean? Like I definitely, and I think it's just because I think I'm going to forget whatever I'm thinking if I don't say it out loud right then. So it probably sometimes people might feel like I'm running them over, but I just have to get it out or I'm going to forget it. So I am more vocal in writes. Than some people. I can't sit there and try to think of be working on a whole verse and then say it or something like that. I'm just saying everything I think of. So that can be annoying or you could find it cool or inspiring depending on who you are. I've had both reactions, but I do know when it's my place to ride or drive or just watch for a second or whatever. I don't know. I feel like it's just a natural instinct if I'm letting somebody, if it's an artist and they're fleshing out an idea, I want to hear the whole thing. I'm down. I'm not trying to interrupt. But I'm not great at like a silent room. So I'm going to try stuff. I like throwing stuff at the wall pretty quick and recording on the mic if I'm writing and stuff like that just to try to get the idea out. People would probably say I drive more than ride, but I know I can get with other writers and also kind of just have a good rhythm, going back and forth. I do struggle with that sometimes just to try to get my ideas out of my head quick and it may come off like I'm driving, lead foot a little bit. But I don't know. That's just part of it. Hopefully I've learned throughout the career when to drive and when to ride. So it's a nice little dance back and forth.
But it helps to have somebody who doesn't stop ideas. I really like I like keep throwing stuff out. I think the part of co-writing that's different than writing by yourself is that it really depends on your co-writers being able to say that's the part.
That is a skill, like big time, just to be able to identify. Some people are amazing at that. You know what I mean? So I do not have the skill to write by myself. I used to try to write like one song a month by myself just to prove that I can still make up stuff, and that's long gone now. Yeah. I just, even if I kind of write something by myself, I'm always going to bring it in. I just love the people, the community, the aspect of sharing back and forth. And I don't trust myself, I guess, as much as you or some other people do. So I've got to bounce it off of everybody. So I'm definitely more of a co-writer for sure.
He also said, I like these questions. Good job, Zach. He said that, he started out making hip hop and wanting to do rap, and asked, is there any music that you still want to do? Is it Broadway? Is there something that you'd be like, you know what, I want to do, I want to, because one of the things I admire so much about your ability to put your head down and just go, session.
Yeah.
Is that like you get you're so focused on what's in front of you.
Yeah.
But you have a skill set. Look, you have a number one song in alt rock. So it's not like you haven't, dabbled in other stuff. We've written songs for pop.
Yeah.
We've written some stuff for country. What genre would you want to dive into?
Well, always. I kind of came up the same as Zach. Not to he was better than me, but I used to make beats and just do hip hop, R&B kind of tracks and make remixes and DJ and all that stuff too. So it's funny how we both kind of came from that school. It's probably why we hit it off, and we still work together and all that. But it's an interesting little path to get to being a country writer. But yeah, I love, like you said, I'm like you. I love all the genres. So I always wanted something outside of maybe the country chart at some point. Where that's some worship stuff, pop stuff, R&B, alt rock. The Weezer song was pretty cool. That wasn't like a goal I had, but it felt good to get outside of the, blur the lines, get outside the genre a little bit with all my favorite songs. But I did always want a global, country doesn't go as global as, songs you've had or pop songs, stuff like that. So we currently have the Post and Morgan, I Had Some Help, which hit that. And I never thought about that being a goal, but I guess once it happened, I was like, oh, that's cool to have one that's actually number one in the world, which is, is tough to do. And it's funny because I always wanted like a pop hit, a Hot 100 hit, all that stuff. And the ones that have happened have been, kind of in the country space. It's just the genres have blurred and changed. So you can get that. So I didn't end up having to get the Ariana Grande song to get the Hot 100 or whatever to top that chart. So that's been a fun process the last couple of years, seeing those songs all mesh and there being 4 or 5 country songs on the pop chart,
Yeah, everybody's trying to do a country song. It's like, and because of how, this is the 90s again. Yep. It's where it's country is everything. And once so country right fans started figuring out how to stream and not buy MP3s.
Yeah, it took a minute.
Then it really changed the algorithm and people look at things differently.
Oh, for sure, dude. It's funny now, just what's on the radio and what people like. It's kind of at its truest form. Like we all say, we love everything. We make playlists with everything on there, and it's just kind of transcended over to everybody, doing that, and the charts doing that a little bit too. So I love where it's at right now. So I definitely always wanted a pop hit. Didn't know that would come from a country, artist or market, but it's cool that it did. So I don't have a lot of other stuff. I do have a place in my heart for Broadway and musicals. In college, tried to kind of start some, write some. I know you've done that. I'm just not as patient as you. I just couldn't do it. It's like I can spend a day on a song that I think's amazing that nobody cares about. That happens all the time. But it would be hard to spend years on something and then nobody care about it in the end. And honestly, if I could start, if I could live 2 or 3 lives, I would spend one of them, writing musicals in New York, one of them staying in the R&B, whatever world. But Nashville has been so amazing. Everybody comes through there. It's like, it's kind of, the way country's, progressed and changed a little bit. All the little chords and melodies and flows and things like that kind of come naturally to me or have been useful for the past few years in country. So I haven't had to run outside and chase something or anything like that.
But you do change styles really easily. It seems like, when you're working with Jelly Roll or you're working with Morgan Wallen, I'm just saying the stuff that's big this week, versus the last 10 years. But obviously they're very different than Luke and some of the other people you've worked with that, why is it easy for you to, why do artists look at you as being like, oh no, he can help me do my voice,
right? Yeah. That's what I want. That's kind of my goal is that compliment of like somebody bringing me in to either tie a couple of genres together or to finish out their project, even if it doesn't sound like it's something that is naturally in my wheelhouse. I've always tried to have a pretty big range. So I feel like, I feel like I could confidently go in with most people if it's not scream metal and help them figure out, something that would be cool for them to try next? And it's just because there's so much music in my system, that I grew up listening to so many different things. And I just, not that I'm great at all of it, but I definitely like to be a chameleon and kind of be that artist, when I'm in the studio. I take it so seriously. It's a privilege, to get to try to write, for these people. So it's like, I really go in and like, if I was this person, what would I want to play this every night? Would I want to, would this be a step up? Would this maybe, is this where I want to go? So I love that aspect of writing where I'm trying to kind of like guess and educated guess the next thing somebody would do and it working. I love, that's probably my most satisfying part is when that kind of works, when they're trying something different that I'm pushing for and it takes off.
Most of the artists you've worked with are men. And in the country world, it seems, if you look at the people around Miranda, it's often more female. If you look at people around Casey, it's kind of a mixed bag, but seems like that world doesn't really cross over. Why is that? Why is it that a writer, of your caliber, I feel like you could obviously write with whoever.
Oh yeah.
Is it just that's just the way things work out?
That's the way the genre is skewed. I mean, snapshot the chart and men to women. It's just math. Like I love working, doing songs with Carrie Underwood and Carly Pearson, Kelsey Ballerini and Dasha last week and whoever else, is coming up. I love doing that. I mean, girls, I feel like there's freedom in the lyrics and the melody and the range and all that stuff. I mean, they're amazing. There's just not as many of them, of those projects going on. So that's all it is. I love, working with either one of those. Carrie was my first couple of hits. I went, we've written a ton of songs, together that have done great. And I love doing that. There's just not as many in the genre. It's been pointed out, there's not a lot of those. I mean, Lainey Wilson is amazing. We wrote a song, a few weeks ago.
Dash was exciting.
She's fun. And that was so fun. I was like, oh, I love that. We did a couple songs. So obviously it's amazing to do that, but just total stat wise, it's going to end up being more dudes for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you feel obligated to fight for songwriter rights?
Yeah. I mean, I do. I mean, you can either be like, okay, I made it through here, so good luck, or you can be passionate about it and do it. I've seen you at stuff. We hung out last week at the NMPA events, and I would love to do more. I'd love to, you know more about it. Some people are more active in it. I've been in hardcore family modes where I can't be on too many boards and stuff like that, but I'm definitely, even this year, have been doing more of that, more of the giving back, trying to help, whether it's a college curriculum in writing or it's a Washington trip or it's trying to figure out. I go to those conferences like we were at last week and try to come back and tell my writers or inform people, other smaller publishers in Nashville, what's going on, at least keep them up to date. And hopefully all those guys know I'm down to do whatever anybody needs. But, I've got writers that are like my kids, so I want them to have a inheritance too one day. You know what I mean? So I want to make sure that it all comes through. I look at it like that.
Your publishing company has been a big focus of yours. Obviously, if you have 47, 48 number one songs, who's counting? But most people now are talking about how important it is to own master, or we should say, sound recordings.
Yeah.
Owning sound recordings instead of publishing feels like at least a faster return on your investment.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Why do you have a publishing company and not a record company?
Right. I mean, we have a record label form. We've had a couple acts on, but we only do that to like get those writers, get those artists into a major deal and kind of split it up so that so we can protect them, their creative interests, all that stuff. So we have that kind of going.
Who are those artists?
We had a group called Avenue Beat. There's a guy named Jordan Road that we're working on, but we're always going to partner with, Hunter Phelps. We signed and just kind of, figured out a deal while he was going to be an artist for a little bit. He's not now, but at that time we worked it out. It was great. He's putting out songs, getting all, millions of streams. But I don't know. I feel like I've thought we've almost gone down that road because the masters can be obviously way more lucrative and the publishing kind of feels like you're throwing money away for several years before anything comes back. But I just feel like my God-given skill set is more in the writer, training, management, helping them out. And that's just my love. So we kind of just came to a point where I'm like, this is probably going to be our concentration, is just like, regardless of if it's tougher to make money from it, that's just what we feel like we're good at. So we kind of concentrate with the writers and helping them develop into big hit songwriters. So we have artists too that we kind of develop all that stuff, but we haven't like launched a big label. I don't want to take on a radio team and do all that kind of stuff at this point. Now, who knows in the future, but for the last few years, I'm so hands-on and so intense about it that I feel like I can't do a whole, run some label and run the publishing company and write,
And be a dad.
And be a dad, yeah, and husband and all the others, and do life, yeah.
That is like time management is really difficult for workaholics.
Yes.
But it seems like you've done it really well. What is the secret?
Yeah, I mean, I don't always do it well. I like to overbook. I don't like free time.
How do you know when you're not doing well?
Just when it feels off, when I feel like I've been missing from the, you can just feel it if I'm going too in on this stuff. Like, all right, if I'm writing 8 nights in a row or something like that, it just doesn't feel right. But I have been able to manage it, especially. That's what I loved about Nashville is, kind of the schedule. I kind of went back and forth on moving to LA or doing Nashville sessions back several years ago. And the LA sessions were starting at 2 and ending at, 10 PM or sometimes starting at 6 PM and going all night. And just being a dad and having kids early on, it just didn't go with it. You know what I mean? I wanted to be able to coach their stuff and hang with them and kind of do more of a school schedule, and Nashville was great for that. Starting at 10, can get out of there at 4. I used to have to leave at 2:30 to go coach basketball for a couple of years. So that kind of trained me to write quick, just because I had to get out there and do that.
It keeps it really efficient.
It does, yeah. And now I'm not, the kids are older, so I'm not like having to run to a practice or whatever. So, we can take more of our time and have more conversation.
Do you take more of your time or is it now like the brain muscle's been worked on and now you go in and you're like, I don't need that much time because.
But yeah, a little bit of both, right? But just more time to hang and more time to meet with my, team and listen through the writer stuff and do all that stuff. But no, in Nashville, I've never written in town on a Saturday or Sunday. I'll only do nights if it's like some kind of camp. We do some stuff like the Hardy camps, which are awesome. Or if there's kind of if we're going all in for like 2 days, and then I'll make sure I take a day off after that or something like that. But I need the balance. I need to be around my wife and kids. Remember that there's way more than, music to life. And it doesn't matter if this song's on hold or if somebody dropped it or it's not doing well. So I need a balance of that just to stay sane, Do
you ever look at it as, if you, when you look at somebody who, it's easy to look at somebody who doesn't have a family and think, right, man, that like they're able to do 5 times the sessions, and not to get FOMO about it, but you look at it and you're like, man, if I didn't have those things, maybe I'd have more.
Oh, for sure. No,
but then you realize that that's not really what you want. But
oh yeah, even lately there's been times where it's like, oh shoot, they're just they're doing a writing camp here or they're doing a couple sessions here, and my son has a baseball tournament, but I'm going to the baseball tournament. Like, it's not really a thing I struggle with. Like, oh, I'm missing out on whatever. I wish they'd have picked different dates, maybe. What I mean? But it's almost like just up front before we had any success or anything, it was just like, we're going to try to roll like this. We're going to focus on, God, the kids, the relationship. And thankfully we've, made it through all that, all the crazy schedules and everything. But yeah, definitely sometimes I get dubbed, like people think I'm writing 24/7. But I'm hopefully just trying to manage time better, and I'm all over the place naturally. So I think it looks like I'm maybe doing more sessions than I am. I'm not sure. But I love the balance of that. I can't imagine. As soon as it hits my brain, like, oh, if I had the freedom to do this, or I could just travel around, I'd go to London, come to LA for 2 months, do whatever. The other side of that, I'd be lonely. I wouldn't be grounded. I wouldn't have, I need to, being away from my wife more than a week or 5 days at a time doesn't feel good to me, so.
Yeah. Once you have kids too, it's like, if you're not working for your kids, then what
right.
For?
Yeah. I'm not going to miss an event or whatever with them. You know what I mean? If I have to fly in at midnight or whatever, and not because I feel obligated, I just like to be there. It's fun. I love going to, a game, which is just kind of an excuse to socialize with other parents and support the kid. But family trips, we've been able to manage all that. So it hasn't really, thankfully, since I'm not a touring artist or anything like that, we can call our schedule. It's like the best thing about the job is we can set our own schedules and we can say, hey, we can't do this anymore. Nobody fires us. So it's been fun to just figure out a way, that works for us and everything like that. But it does get tough to manage it, here and there. But I definitely have life ranked above trying to get songs recorded, so I try to keep it there.
It's a balancing act,
A little bit, yeah.
And I think people think that there's if you look at any sort of scale, it never stays steady or
right.
not. So it is going to tilt every day, multiple times a day. What are those choices that you're going to make that are going to
it's so many decisions, dude. I have decision fatigue every day when I get home. Yeah, it's just like I don't want to decide where we're eating or anything. I've already made 100 decisions today, which is like a real thing. But
it is.
Yeah. For me, it's not a big. Once you make your priorities, it's easier to kind of keep to that and be less tempted or not be so stressed that you're missing something, because it is what it is. You can't control it. So I just try to do the best I can when I'm there. You
mentioned God first. Do you go to church on Sundays?
I do. Yeah.
Every Sunday?
Well, every Sunday I'm in town, and then if not, church now, you can watch it, you can do you can stream it, all that kind of stuff. And we have life groups and stuff like that, just to try to, just interacting with other people, talking about, the Bible is a huge, important, part of our life.
Was that part of your life growing up?
A little bit. Yeah. Growing up, definitely, raised in a Christian home per se, but we went to church, semi-frequently. No, not like just Easter and Christmas, but we went a lot. But it wasn't until I was in a youth group, all that stuff. The church was awesome. I remember all that. But then in college, when you go away from your parents and away from that structure, I didn't know anybody in the state of Tennessee, when I went to Belmont. And so I think that is where, if you're going to church or you're going to an event or reading a book, then you're doing it because you want to do it. So I think that moment when you leave the nest is when you kind of have to sort your faith out and be like, okay, with no pressure on, we're going to church because it's a Sunday. What am I going to do with my day, my life? What do I believe about this? And so that's just a great time to kind of formulate that. So when I went away, it became really, really real to me. And my wife and I were in, different classes at church. Kind of that was like our family. We didn't have family in Nashville. We had these kids. We got no babysitters. We got no, so we turned to those people that were members of those groups that we just did life with. So, and we still do that. It's just fun to have people that you can be real with, going through stuff, not acting like everything's okay, and trying to seek the right, wisdom to get through it.
If you're a songwriter or composer, you have to join a performing rights organization, or PRO. Performance royalties are an essential part of your income, if not your only income. ASCAP is America's first PRO, and the only one that operates on a not-for-profit basis, which means the money they collect goes to their songwriters, composers, and music publishers. And ASCAP supports you in a lot of different ways, even beyond the royalties. They run workshops and networking events for creators, like the annual ASCAP Experience. Check it out at ascapexperience.com. They got tons of resources on their website to help you learn about the music industry. They've even got a wellness program. I really respect that ASCAP is a true democracy. ASCAP members elect their board of directors, and the board is made up of music writers and publishers. They've got over 1 million writers, including this episode's guest, Ashley Gorley. Writers can join for free. Learn more at ascap.com/whyjoin and follow at ASCAP on socials. Our good friends at Chartmetric have all the data you need to power your music career, from playlist placements to stream counts to follower demographics and many more. It's never been easier to understand how your artists fit in the music industry and how they can grow. Chartmetric does the work for you, providing actionable insights and visuals on their up-to-date global data that covers over 10 million artists and 100 million songs, so there's no math required. Use it to find out things about your favorite artists and any of the artists and writers on this podcast. Plans start as low as $10 a month. Learn more and get started today at chartmetric.com. Going back to songs for a bit, when, there's Morgan Wallen's famous for having, 200 songs. Like, that guy's just constantly writing. Everyone's pitching him songs.
Yes, it's nuts.
But your songs keep rising to the top. Why?
Yeah, I mean, man, he's so good, and he's got such a good, bar for songs and a good, risk tolerance for trying some different stuff. I mean, he's just popping off so crazy right now. But I don't know. I mean, I'm very, very blessed, lucky that those songs found their way to like the radio and being singles and stuff like that. That album was so good. It had so many good songs on there. I don't know why. I'm thankful they picked mine. I think some of them were a little different, when it comes to Last Night, thinking about me, the way they're produced, the way they sound. Maybe they stood out. That could have been a bad thing, ended up being a good thing. And so, yeah, he just, I go on these
So is
little
it
runs.
that you take I mean that
Yeah, we're willing to do that in the room, and then he's willing to sing it. You know what I mean? He's like, let's do it. Let's try it.
there's just what's so interesting about, you have it's similar going back to the sports thing. We're just gonna go through all the sports. We'll do pickleball last.
Come on,
but,
there you go, good.
But if you have if you're to talk Major League Baseball or something, you've got all these guys who were all-stars growing up. They were all-stars in the minor league.
Yeah.
They all get to the big leagues, and there are still levels of the big leagues.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like, why does that person hit, 300 this year, and then
right.
150 the next year, and then 300 the next year, and or those pitchers that seem to get 16 wins every year, or
right.
20 wins every year, and you're like, what is it that they're doing that is so acutely different that their success rate is so consistent?
Yeah.
What is it that you're doing that on an album of some of the best writers in the world, not just his, but in general, what are you doing that's acutely different that allows your songs to be heard differently?
Wow. I don't know. I mean, maybe especially when it comes to Morgan, there's such a different kind of era and team of writers working on that. Charlie Handsome, the majority of the songs I've had with him are with him, and people like Ernest, John Byron, some of these guys, we just kind of hold up and had a crew and really went for it on a bunch of the songs. And some of them are pitches, that he was willing to do. And some of them we wrote with him. And even Sand in My Boots being a big piano ballad, I thought that had no shot of being a single or anything like that. And of course I ended up doing fine, but I don't know, in the room, maybe it's just taking a few chances or just like trying to raise the bar up and make the melody a little catchier or make the groove a little more memorable or something that would stand out, with songs like Last Night, super melodic, and it sounds radically different, you know what I mean? Which is a lot to do with Charlie and Joey Moy and being willing to take chances on the production. That stood out. And then the song after that was like the countryest thing on the radio, Everything I Love. So I think just being able to try different stuff, different extremes, having enough knowledge maybe to just dig in a little bit more on the flow or on that melody and just kind of, I know Morgan well and know what he likes, what he grew up listening to, and we're similar in what we like in songs. So I think with that whole Big Loud team, a lot of those young writers were just hitting it right. We just got in a groove where he was liking what we were doing. And that's kind of all you can ask. So at least in that era, we were writing things that he loved and that the people were loving, for radio and singles and stuff like that. But definitely I could have gotten one single off that album instead of 5 or 6, and other songs would have all went number 1. They would have been great, So I definitely count that as a blessing and getting lucky that we got all those songs to be singles.
When you hear songs in the world and somebody's playing a country playlist, are there songs that come on and you're like, did I write this? And it's like, oh yeah, that's
yes.
right, I did that. And vice versa, where you're like, did I write this? No. It sounds like, how do I know this song?
Yeah. I have written a lot of songs. Like yesterday I got a text saying like, hey, you should play this for so-and-so. And I was like, cool, who wrote this? And they're like, you and these 2 people. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like that definitely happens a little bit. If I had to do it, if there's something on the line, then I could probably try to remember if I wrote that or not. But I think it's just once they're out, I've just trained my brain because of the heartache of songwriting to lay the song down and set it free. You know what I mean? At the end, and not keep going back to like, oh, that song was really cool that we did 3 weeks ago. What about that? It's like, I just can't do that because it's so hard, And so I've just been able to kind of let that go, so to speak. And my memory is terrible, so thank God there's voice memos and you can write on a mic while recording and things like that. I just get in a mode with my brain where I'm coming up with stuff, but I can't activate the remember it part of it at the same time. And which is fine because you can record it, so who cares? But yeah, I don't know. That is that's an interesting one.
I think it's actually pretty common. There are some songs where they come out and like it's just hard to tell. It's not even the ones that came out. It could be something from 6 years ago that was popular around the same time that your other songs. It could be something that was, or 3 years ago, and you're listening to it and you're like, fuck, is this one of mine?
Right.
I can't like.
I mean, usually I'll know.
This,
Like once I hear it for a while,
you just have like a moment of like a brain lapse.
Yeah,
and I
it's
think,
so weird. Yeah, especially if it's on in the background at a restaurant or somebody's playing it. It's
Yeah,
a
and
new
you're like,
it's
what
a
is
new
this?
song
What
in
is-
somebody's
yeah.
set. I'm just like, oh, I think I did this one. You know.
Yeah.
Now the hits, I'm not going to say I can forget. It's not like I don't know when those come on, but sometimes it takes a minute, especially
Yeah.
the older ones. Yeah.
Do you think that your ratio of songs that come out that are successful is different than other people's? Like, I think there's, as Max said, it's like one. If you have a hit every year for 20 years, you're the biggest songwriter of all time.
Mm-hmm.
When you have 76 number one songs, not including other hits, because there were some that are not number one.
Right.
How many songs does it take for you to get to that? I got you. Okay.
I
was talking to Dave Hodges was here recently, and we were talking about Cara DiGuardi, who,
I love her.
She's sort of stopped writing.
Yeah.
She's just doing publishing stuff, and she's an icon songwriter.
Oh yeah.
I was like, do you? And Dave said, like, do you miss writing? And she's like, no, because I know that it was at the BMI Awards. It was like, I know that medal took you 200 days to get to that medal, and she was done with that chase.
That's a tough.
You're talking about the heartbreak of songwriting, and most songwriters are writing. For every 76 songs they write, 0 of them come out.
Yeah.
So, what percentage of songs do you write that never see the light of day?
Oh gosh, 90.
Really?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't done the math, but I mean, I do write a lot of songs. Being a top liner, I can bounce to another session while somebody's finishing that. I may lay down a scratch and go. I literally think a lot of times it's quantity. For me of the number of songs I'm writing. And so many different projects. I mean, that's how I'm able to have multiple songs on the chart. They're for radically different artists, and they can all fit. If I was the artist, there's no way I could do that. So, I'm trying to think. Let's see. What was the last question you asked just now?
I was just asking about how many songs you have to write.
The percentage. Man, I don't know. It's wild now in the last few years. When I first time I won Writer of the Year, I had 3 hits in that year. And won it, like that was kind of the most people were having, at the time. And I don't really know, what's changed where maybe the grouping is smaller that's writing the stuff or whatever. But I've definitely been lucky to have what we call a triple play for the last several years, which is when you get 3 number ones in a year.
You had 9, I think, when we did the first interview.
Yeah. There was like a triple. There's been
now?
a few of those. I don't know how many of those.
Yeah.
I don't know. This
Where do
year,
you put the awards? Are they in the office, or are they
depending?
in a box?
Yeah, there's some in a box and some in the studio or office. Where I don't really have them in my house, but in the back we put up some of those in the studio.
Do you have anything in your house?
No, I don't think so. Huh?
Yeah,
it's all which we have that studio and property in the back, so we just do that. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
there may be like one of the triple players or an ACM or something in some case, but I can't tell you where it is.
Why do you not display things in the house?
I never even thought it just never came up. I think in my mind, I want the separation from my more important life to music stuff. So it's almost like the physical separation of that stuff being back there, and I can go in that mode. And then when I get to the house, I'm usually not even like listening to much music or whatever. I try to turn it off, just to
or
get
a different
away
genre.
From that.
Like, do your kids listen to country?
They all like country, but they also like, my youngest. He's 16, same as me. He listens to a lot of rap, He loves 21 Savage, but he also loves Morgan and likes some country stuff. Ernest, he loves him, Hardy. Then my daughter is more in the, kind of half country, but half Lizzie McAlpine, Holly Humberstone, Noah Kahn, like more singer-songwriter, different lyric kind of thing, emo vibes, and kind of all over the map. And the same for my oldest. They're all kind of spread out everywhere.
When you're dividing your time between all these things, and you've got the studio in the back, the studio you built is in the behind your house. Is that?
Yeah, it was already there. It's an old school studio. Yeah, it was our property belonged to a 90s country band. Before we bought it.
Who was it?
So Sawyer Brown.
Oh, nice.
And so when we got that studio is already there. It's kind of old school, kind of has a vibe, but it had like live, gear to cut all that kind of stuff. We sold a lot of that, but we kind of use it now as just a overboard writing space. You know what I mean?
And
But
that's
you can
where all
mix
the
stuff in
tape
there.
room guys go?
Well, that's one place. So I do also like to switch up locations, like I love going to like a different session spot every day. I don't have like my magic room where all the stuff comes to me. So we do a lot of camps out there.
The opposite of like Diane Warren, who's
Who goes, I could not do that. I want to see some, I would change it every day if I could, be in a different spot. But so we have a studio there and we had some offices there. Tape room kind of started back there because I wasn't trying to go get a building or anything like that. So we actually worked out of there for a year or two, just kind of doing it on my phone. We signed 3 writers to get started. Blaine Rhodes came on, and then we've had, Kelly Bolton come on, Caroline Hodson, amazing team. But yeah, so we have that place in the back, and we love doing camps there because you feel like you're 100 miles from everywhere. There's deer, turkey running around. There's a river in the back. So it feels like you're making a country record that day. And then we have offices at Sony, who's partner with me. And then we also have offices, tape rooms offices are in Red Light Management, who are partnered on, some of the tape room business.
The desire to be involved in pickleball is
it's high.
It's obviously like one of the hotter sports. People love playing it.
Yeah.
You're building courts.
Oh yeah.
Is it there on the property?
Yeah. We had the property had an old tennis court on it. And then we kind of like rednecked it out a little bit with some tape, finally painted some lines and converted it to a pickleball. But then we started having people over and everybody's having to sit out and wait. So we just we kind of changed that space to where it'll hold 4 courts. They're getting worked on right now. And that's really just out of me and my wife's desire just to hang out with friends and do something besides go downtown and go out to eat. You know what I mean? It's just fun to like hang out. I write with the same people I hang out with and play pickleball with and all. It's all meshed together. It really feels like a family. So it's nothing for like whoever to come over. One night, whatever, Hoskins and Charlie Hanson and Taylor Phillips and these guys last time before we started working on the new courts came over and we played for 2 or 3 hours. It was like the most fun ever. So it's just I love being active. I don't sit still real well. So for me, that's the perfect kind of social vibe. So we're trying to get those done hopefully soon.
You're an in shape guy. Do you go to the gym every day?
Yeah, not every day, but probably 4 times a week. We have a workout room down there. Where we play those pickup basketball games.
Or not on tour. When you're, well, sure.
No, I'm not that disciplined. I mean, if I'm out with an artist and they're like, let's work out, I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm thinking like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I will do it if other people are doing it because I'm not going to feel like the guy that's not working out. Yeah. But if it's up to me, like I've been in LA the last 3 days, I definitely did not work out. Yeah. I'm going to maybe do a little hike today, but it won't be like in the gym. Me and my wife do that together every morning at 8, and it's like our day date.
Yeah.
So it's like we're both in there trying to do it,
you're at such a different phase of your life because like at that time we're just keeping our head above water with a 3-year-old and
dude, yeah, we've crossed over to like they can get themselves to school, all that kind of stuff. And even when we took them to school, we would do that and just it's fun to work out with somebody. Just like I like co-writing, I like I love working out with her. So we have like a trainer that comes and he's cool and just works us both out, and we're just in there having a good time and hating life all at the same time.
That's really funny. How many, you've got what, I forget, is it 3 or 4 kids? What is it?
3.
3 kids.
Feels like more sometimes, yeah.
Well,
feels like more sometimes. I always got people over, but yeah.
Now that your youngest is about to leave, is that a weird phase for you it's
the worst thing ever. Yeah. I'm a very, I have a hard time. I don't want things that are great to stop. You know what I mean? So if I'm at a cool show or I'm on a cool trip, I just want it all to keep going. Let's keep going. I love being active, and I actually love playing with and hanging out with the kids. I love being around all of them. I love being around people. So we got 2 more years with the last one. He was a sophomore. We'll be a junior, and I don't know. We're hoping by the end of that he leaves and maybe one of the other ones moves back to Nashville or something like that. But I cannot imagine a day where they're all in different towns. I mean, I would just chase them around, I would just get a spot wherever they're at. Yeah. We're just all tight. I love that part. That's definitely what's kept me grounded and gets me through all the heartbreak that comes with, music is them. So yeah, it is a weird phase. We had kids early and it's wild. You know what I mean? I went to the Noah show with my daughter last night, and she's interning in the music business, and it's a weird development. That we have a couple adult kids and the last one can drive now. It's a wild scene. It's really, really weird.
One of the quotes that I had that I've probably said on this a few times is that in in Nashville, all the songwriters have children, and in LA, all the songwriters are children.
That's a great quote. Wow.
And, you have children and then who are working as a publisher. Do you fear for the music industry going forward, or are you hopeful? Because talking to you feels really... I just hear people so scared about the future, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of fear going on. It just feels like everyone's just having a good time writing songs and reaping the rewards of being good songwriters.
Yeah, absolutely. I still feel confident about that. Like, I don't think things are gonna, I can't operate out of a space of fear. I've done that probably several times, and I try hard not to do that. So I think it's hard to, especially what we do, getting the best songs possible, to the best artists possible, and helping them fuel what they need to play the shows and put out albums and things like that. I don't know when or how that, goes away. The royalties are always going to be an issue, Spotify and all the streaming stuff and everything. That's going to be rough. But I feel like there's smart people, between you, David Israelite, everybody, and NSAI people getting involved. They're going to try to figure it out, and what I do, just feels like it's not going anywhere, and you do it out of a passion. You don't really do it out of like, oh, there's a better chance of me making it, doing this. So I'm not scared. I mean, it's changed so much since I've been doing it, that I'm not scared for it to change some more.
Going back to songs real quick before we close up, but, cause I've been trying to figure out, when you were saying you write these songs, sometimes they're like, hey, this is coming out. You're probably like, oh, wait, what was that? Because you were just in the room. You sang the song, then left.
Right.
But in someone who's as strategic as you are with your business, it's hard to imagine you not being strategic when, with your songs that are being written. Yeah. And are you calling the record labels to advocate for your specific songs? Do you call radio stations and advocate for your songs? How involved do you get with the publishing of your own material?
Yeah, the songs I write, you mean, or my writers, or all of it? Yeah,
sure, whatever.
This is a big misnomer. It's funny, the things I've heard. I think people just think I'm doing stuff like that, or like promoting songs or something like that. I've never called a radio station after the first number one I ever had, when my wife and I were in the car and we wanted it to go number one so bad. Yeah. Then we called one just to say we called one. Yeah. I don't even know if that works anymore. I don't know how it works. Yeah. But besides that, I've never called and been like, dude, you got to play this or anything. I don't have that relationship. There's a couple DJs I'm friends with, but I've never sent them songs or anything like that. I have to cut it off at some point. I like to just I'm probably too shy for that or something. I don't know. I like to get in the room when I'm really confident about it. Now, I might mention, like if I really, really think something is perfect for an artist and they ask what I think, I'm going to tell them. But if I don't think it's mine, I'm going to tell them the other one. I love to, A&R is kind of in my blood. So there are a few artists maybe who I would love to, executive producer, A&R their records. It's not really that way. That didn't happen much in Nashville. So, I mean, the way songwriters are in Nashville, you do it. You hope it goes, and then you kind of let it go. I'm hands off.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that I would think in our world, so much of it is who the executive producer is. Like the songwriters and producers are often the people running it. And in your world, even if you write 9 or 10 of the songs,
there's a wall. I heard the Morgan cuts. Besides one of them, I heard them when they came out on Spotify.
Yeah,
crazy. And that's every album now. It used to be like it would be a big deal to bring it in and play your song on the speakers, but it's just gotten so busy. I think that it's just like stuff's coming out. I didn't even know it was coming out. Most of the time when I hear my finished product is when you hear it.
What's next for you?
What's next? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm open to whatever. I feel like I'm in a good spot where I love it, so I'm not trying to change anything or cut it down. There's so many great artists and so many other great writers I get to work with that it just kind of is satisfying just to change, stuff you're aiming at and what you're working for and stuff like that. So I just want to do it as long as I'm meant to do it. You know what I mean? I kind of hold it loosely. Also, if I feel like God's telling me that I need to spend more time doing this or doing that, I'm totally open and down for that. But I was talking about that with my daughter last night about how long, and I feel like any kind of predictions in music are just out the window. You know what I mean? I thought I would probably be done by now. Like I'd be out of a gig a couple of years before now, but it's been the best 2 or 3 years I've had. So you just can never predict it. So same thing with like whatever's next, I can't really predict it. I'll probably get more involved. I love speaking like to students, or like I'll do a little more like kind of jumping in, teaching stuff at like a Belmont, or at least doing seminars and things like that, or anywhere, whatever, Berkeley, whatever it is. I like doing that. I don't know. I mean, I'm down for whatever's coming, but I don't have some big next phase of the music thing. I just can't think of anything that I like better than making stuff up.
When you're 20 years old and you're just like, oh, all I want is a cut.
Oh yeah.
And it gets to a point where it's like, it's hard when you're in this sort of rare air kind of thing where you're like, where do you, the goal's interesting. Cause now whatever you set for yourself is just what you set for yourself, but there's no, it's not like you hang around other songwriters who can be like, oh yeah, I want my, whatever. They can't really necessarily compete.
I'm trying to.
It helps to be. I'm sure it helps to be friends with successful songwriters, so you're not constantly talking about. I think everyone thinks there's a there that you'll get. That.
Oh yeah, it's not there.
It's never there.
Yeah, you never get there, man. You can write. I mean, you can honestly write somebody's career song and then not get a text back from them or the label the next time they're looking for a song. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I mean, that happens a lot, so it's I mean, regardless of what you do, if you crush it and you get the exact song they need, it's not like they automatically say, okay, now give me the next one. You know what I mean? And I think people think it's like that. It's not. As you know, in music, a lot of times it's like, if you crush it with somebody on a whole album, they may be like, okay, that was great. Thanks. Now I need to switch it up.
I asked Benny that early on when I first met him, and I was like, yeah, but it's easy for you,
Oh, dude, yeah.
And he was like, no, it's harder because they now compare everything to what you've done.
Yeah.
So they're like, yeah, but this isn't really versus if they, it doesn't affect if you don't have a reputation yet, that it's not going to affect it in the same way.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. It's just not. I get a question a lot of times. People that don't understand the business will be like, so now the area you're in, I'm sure you get to pick, how is it when you pick what artist you want to record your song? And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, does it work like that anywhere? Because I'm moving there. Wherever that happens, wherever I get to pick who records my song, here you go. You're welcome. It's just not that way. I wish it was. You know what I mean?
I wonder if we could go back and talk to Irving Berlin or these great writers. Was it different in 1909? Was it different for the...
or even some of the 80s, 90s country stories, where it was just like this simple thing of dropping a CD or a cassette off in somebody's mailbox, and they just didn't get. There's just less songs. There's less songs coming out, way less songs being written.
It was harder to send it to people. It was more expensive to record. It was
it's rough now. It's like, hey, I got sent 100 songs today on a link on my phone. It's just like tough to get through them. It all can jumble together, so it's so hard to stand out. But yeah, it's not always the automatic way. Now, obviously, if I've had success with somebody, then hopefully I can get a listen the next time around. But it's not like they say like, oh, we got to put out another one of his songs. I just don't feel like it works that way in Nashville, even if it ever appears that way.
All right. Well, here's the segment of 5 for 5. I'm gonna just name 5 things. Just tell me what comes out the top of your head. We're gonna start with Morgan Wallen.
What's that?
I'm just gonna just say what comes out the top of your head.
Superstar, maybe. I don't know. I mean, the shows I've seen of his, Thank You is probably the first thing that comes to my mind. That's been an amazing run, dude. I mean, I'm telling you, just the kids, everybody loving the songs he's made it really, really fun for me the last couple of years.
Jelly Roll.
Oh, real or authentic. We had really good, deep conversations. He's so appealing just because he's just throwing it out there. Preacher, I might have said that too. When I went to write with him on the road, I just did it for a couple of days, but that show was like, I mean, there's a following, dude. He's hitting so many people in the heart. I love that guy, and I love kind of what he's standing for and what he's out there doing.
Tape Room.
Ooh, I almost said my baby, but that's the wrong thing. I'm trying to think. Family, probably.
I like that.
And I love that, man. It's literally like I'm the dad at the table if we're having a Christmas party or whatever. I don't know if I'd still be doing it if I hadn't have started that thing. You know what I mean? It's a lonely path when you're just trying to make up songs every day, praying somebody doesn't hate it. You know what I mean? So when I'm around them and I get to see their life, like it's fun to watch your own life go from like can't pay, the bills to doing okay to be able to do this for a living. But when you actually sign somebody and you see them go from the minimal draw to selling a catalog or getting married and having a baby and doing life with each other, that's probably my favorite part of the whole thing.
Your 3 children.
Oh, everything, man. I don't even know. Just love or just everything was the first word that popped out. They really do mean everything to me, and I would do anything they need. If that was quitting music tomorrow, I would do that in a second. You know, it's not, they just mean the most. I mean, they're some of my best buddies, and just, there's so many things they've taught me. It's hard to even calculate it.
Your wife?
Oh, best friend? Rock, probably. Yeah. You know, that is a hack. When people ask me about the hack of like, how do you balance this or do this? It's like, my wife literally lives to like make other people happy and serve people. Like, it's an insane situation. Yeah. She's an angel. So she definitely keeps it grounded. She's one of those that she's not in music, which is perfect for me. And she just has a great perspective on life and what matters more than the other stuff. And it's pretty cut and dry, you know, with her. She has a great, you know, gut instinct on everything. So that's just, I mean, I couldn't imagine doing any of it without her.
Well, thanks for doing this podcast for the third time.
Hey, come on. Hey, we're live though. It's so much better than that one, whatever the last one was insane.
Yeah.
There's wind going on. I was trying to work AirPods. I'm an old man with technology.
But it is nice to see the world in a different place. And it's fun. Look, man, we get to see each other kind of a lot just because of events. Events and stuff. And you know, the last 2 years at Songwriter Hall of Fame, it's, you know, Hillary Lindsey, an icon.
Oh, that was so good.
An icon. You know, Liz Rose last year, an icon. And,
man,
you know, I was trying to figure out if you took everybody who was, you know, this year it's, you know, Timbaland and R.E.M. and, you know, you put Steely Dan, the whole list together. Dean Pitchford, is that right?
Yeah. Footloose.
You know, you put all these things together, and I think, you know, I don't want to keep focusing on the stat of what 76 number one songs, 75 country number one songs is. But if you combine all those people, it still doesn't add up to about half of that, you know? And I think it's like, you can't go into I asked you, I think one of them was, you know, do you go in with, because you had a business degree, do you go in with a business mindset when you're in a session? But you really can't necessarily predict how successful, you can't predict how successful
and
the songs
it's not
are.
stats.
And you can't do it in the room because the artist smells it and the label smells
you don't
it.
do that.
And it's hard, it makes a boring song.
Right.
Like, you have to go and take risks.
And I'm not thinking with that brain when I'm in the room, for sure.
Yeah. I think the people who want to be in the business think of songwriters as the box, but you don't realize that, no, the professional songwriters are the ones that are on the outskirts of the box.
Yeah.
You know, the one amateurs are in the middle of the box, or they're so far out of the box that you're like, you're playing a different game.
Yeah, you don't want to retread.
But what you keep doing is making the box bigger, not you know, not landing in the middle of the box.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that.
So fun.
That's fun. It is fun, man. That Hall of Fame thing, seeing you there, that's my favorite event every year. It's fun to just see. I love it all kind of blending together. Somebody that wrote in the 70s versus somebody that wrote in the 2000s or 2010s. Somebody like Hillary and somebody like R.E.M. It's just like music. You know, great songs are great songs. So that's my little annual. Get to see you first of all, but then also just get to remember that, like, man, these songs are great. And it's not, they don't put how many hits they had, or it's not a stat thing. It's just like songs that influence your life. And when they get in, it's so cool. It's so cool to see Hillary get in. That was amazing.
Well, if you don't end up in the Songwriter Hall of Fame, it'd be like, I'm
telling you, it's
like Major League Baseball not having Bonds or Pete Rose or Roger Clemens or something in it. I mean, granted that you probably do the steroid version of songwriting and, like, you know,
I wish there was some of those.
Yeah. No, but I mean, you know, that it would be crazy for you. That's not a Songwriter Hall of Fame without you whenever you decide to make yourself eligible.
Dude, that's wild.
Which is we'll
see. It's funny. I don't count that as any kind of automatic thing. I'm not like, oh, this will be fun when I get up there. I still don't picture. It's probably a writer mindset, but I'm still, when I'm watching, it's like, oh, these people are so awesome. I don't think like, oh, it's about to be my turn. I do not. It does not go through my brain that way. It's still surreal when you got Timbaland and, you know, R.E.M. and all these people up there that I've seen get in, Babyface and whoever. It doesn't feel like we do the same thing. I guess because music is still magic, you know.
Well, it's also
to
when
me,
you
so
write
it doesn't feel like the same. It's like if I'm making it up, it's not that cool.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not. It does. Footloose. Any song that came out before you were a songwriter.
Let's hear it for the boy.
Yeah.
True. Anything like that you grew
Yeah.
up listening to, you know, Losing My Religion when they played that, I'm like, what? These are like real people. They're playing this song. It's like a song.
Yeah.
It is surreal. The
they
Timbaland
wrote
stuff.
that song.
Oh, they wrote that. They wrote Pony, and he conducted the orchestra. You know, the band to play it. That was wild. Yeah, that stuff is. It's weird to think. It never really sticks in my mind, but weird to think that people grew up on our songs is a weird thought.
Yeah.
But I've had, you know, I'm getting older now, so I've definitely had people being like, "Oh, I listened to this person growing up," and I'm like, "What?" You know?
When was your first cut?
The first day was 2006.
So, you know, you're approaching having
years ago.
you could sign writers that were born the year.
Oh, I know it's happening. Yeah.
We have
Dude, I listened to Luke Bryan when I was in 8th grade or whatever. You know, these songs, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It throws you off because I'm expecting them to say George Strait or, you know, old school, whatever. But it's funny when you get that
even
point.
this podcast has started to fuck me up a little bit where we went to we were at the Grammys last year and a few people who were nominated came up and they were like, "Oh man, I grew up listening to this." Like listening to this.
Don't never say that to me again. Yeah.
Yeah, what do
Don't
you
call
mean,
me sir and don't say that. Or like we had.
What does that mean?
Dude, my wife has XM in her car, and we were just taking a road trip or whatever, and we I heard, you know, 3 or 4 of my songs, and I was like, wow, they're playing some old school stuff. And you look, and it's like Prime Country or some station like that. I'm like, you got to change this, dude. I can't be getting songs on an old school station. Like, we got to get this out of here. Yeah, we got to get the new stuff. So.
Well, you look good. So
hey,
there
thanks,
you go.
man. Appreciate it. I'll take it.
You don't look nearly half your age, you know?
No, of course.
All right, thanks, brother. We'll see you on your 4th episode.
Come on, man. Let's do it.
There you go.
Thanks, man.